This is Brian Powers, and I'm interviewing the band Darlene at the main library in Cincinnati, Ohio on Monday, November 24th, 2025. Hello, and thanks for coming. Can you each introduce yourselves? Tell us your name and what
Sure.
instrument you play.
Dana Hamblen. Sometimes they call me Cuddly D. I play bass.
Rob Deslongchamps, aka Robby D, no relation. I sing sometimes and I play the drums.
Jane Jordan, aka Janey O'Laney, and I play guitar, no singing.
I sing too.
Can you, one of you or all of you, describe what is the sound of Darlene? How would you describe your band sound?
Exactly.
I would say primitive indie pop. I don't know.
Vocal harmonies, pop songs, crunchy.
Dynamic.
3-piece.
Yeah.
So can you tell me the origin story of Darlene? How did you guys get together as a band?
It was it was a weird moment when a project that Jane and I had started, and that project had ended, and we were still sort of writing things, but we're like, we want to play music with somebody we like and somebody we get along with, and just the main thing was that we were going to have fun doing it no matter what.
Yes,
And
no stress,
yeah,
no
stress.
drama, just, obviously, Rob and I are a couple. Dana and I are kind of a couple. We're just friend couple. That just playing with people you love and people that you have a dialogue with musically, and to be, not to think of it as a sort of a stepping stone to anything else, but just let it be what it is, and just enjoy what we can do together.
Jane and I play in another band, and I play drums in that band. So I hadn't been playing my bass for a minute. So these guys invited me pick up the bass again.
So when you guys first started, you guys just started jamming together, I guess?
Sorta, yeah.
Yep.
I sort of had to get my muscle memory back. So it took I feel like a year just to be able to play songs in a way. But
And what time period would that have been? When did you guys start playing together
Well, that was
as Darlene?
2008, 2009 when we sort of started playing together, but we
it's
didn't
hard to
really
believe.
didn't play out until like 2010, I don't think. So I think one of our first shows was right around the time that Midpoint was really starting to thrive. And Dan McCabe, big supporter of our stuff. It was a good opportunity.
One of the things I was wanting to work on too was, I started out on the bass also, like Dana, and then I switched to the guitar in, the other band, the Fairmont Girls. But there was always like a person also playing. There was a keyboard and other people playing in the Fairmont Girls. So I thought, well, if I strip everything down to 3 people and I'm the only guitar player, I really have to hopefully get better at it. So that was another conscious choice to have it be a 3-piece.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how much noise can a 3-piece make? That was part of it.
Let me try our best.
Yeah, I was going to ask what the dynamics of the band was. I mean, is there a band leader, or how does it work with you guys?
No, I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't say we're all equally feisty.
Yeah.
We try to use consensus. I think for the most part, that's the only way.
Very
really,
collaborative.
If you're going to be happy doing something, you're not going to be happy unless somebody is like equally happy with what you're doing. So
Yeah, exactly. And then if somebody starts to get stressed, like, oh, I don't know if I can play all those shows, for whatever reason, it's like, that's okay, because this is the fun band.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
There's not all that pressure to, be somebody. Like, we don't need to be anybody. We're just as happy playing for 10 people as, 100 people. Like, it's fine. It's enjoyable. And we just want to write good songs that ultimately we love. That's the main thing.
Yeah.
And how did you guys get the name Darlene? How that name?
Well, we had a list of 100 names, and this
Yeah.
was the one that we hated the least.
Picking a name is the worst.
Yeah.
I mean, at one point, I think we were like, all right, let's let's put all these paint chips names in a basket and see if we like any of those.
Yeah, there was a certain attitude about the name I feel like is sort of stuck with us. You know, a feisty gal. That's kind of what we all are.
There's Cuddly D, there's Robby D, then there's Darlene. So
Yeah, can you talk about your names in the band? Is there how that came up? Why did that come? Why do you have aliases in the band?
you've always been Robby D.
Yeah, just shortened because my last name is so damn long.
Yeah.
Like nobody wants to pronounce it.
Yeah.
Dana's always kind of gone by.
I named Dana.
Cuddly
a long
D was
time
my
ago.
DJ name, so yeah, it still comes out.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then we have a big D as our prop that you'll see it on Sunday.
Yeah.
And I kept getting married and then divorced and changing my name. So I thought, well, I just need to pick a name that I can just stick with, you know.
Janey D.
Janey O'Laney.
Janey
Not
D.
related to
Janey
anybody
D.
that's named that.
No relation.
It's just so bizarre.
Well, I have more questions about Darlene, but we'll get to that. And
Okay.
I want to talk. Well,
I did want to say that eventually Darlene sort of came from like the bratty daughter in the Roseanne show, Darlene. So that's the actual Darlene.
she's
Yeah.
the inspiration.
Melissa Gilbert.
Yes, I'm
sort
afraid
of.
so.
Her persona is really the inspiration for the band. I mean, that's probably one of the best takeaways from that show.
Is it good? Is it bad? You know, so other people can decide that.
Well, that sort of speaks to a lot of the things that we sort of write about too, because there's a lot of things that sort of pulled from popular culture or things that we are sort of sharing at the same time. Like, hey, have you been watching this show, that show, or our neighbor's got some problems? We write that into the show. You know, it's like it's all kind of a tapestry of the stuff that
We lived through the same television periods. We
Yeah.
lived through the same political periods, the same time periods. So we have a lot of in common, you know, the way in culture, in the way we think about things. And I think that's a good grounding reason why we picked her as the icon for the band.
It could have easily been just Richard Pryor or
Yep.
Yeah, we're a big supporter of celebrities that have really
Mr.
had rough
Rogers.
times.
Well, that's some of your song titles.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I want to get into about your songwriting and some of that stuff a little later. But since you guys have been part of the music scene for a long time, I kind of want to get back some of your guys' background. So I was wondering, are all of you from the Cincinnati area? What is your
I'm from
connection to Cincinnati?
Well, I'm from the UK originally. In fact, I just became a US citizen this year. So I came from the UK and I grew up during kind of late punk period, early 1980s. So that's a big influence for me. Came to the United States and, you know, started going to the jockey club, started going to different venues. And I finally went to see Scrawl at the jockey club. And thought, wow, this is incredible. You know, I'd love to do that if I could. You know, women up on stage. I hadn't really seen women playing, you know, guitars and things in bands as much as, you know, today. And so I went up to them afterwards and they're like, just do it. You don't have to ask permission. You can just do it. So, you know, that's what I thought I'd do. I just give it a try. And luckily for me, it did come pretty naturally to me once I picked up the bass and started playing. It was pretty natural and easy.
You hadn't played music. You were listening to music and stuff like
yes,
in the
listening to
UK and stuff,
music.
but it wasn't until you moved
I picked up
here.
the bass when I was 24, and I picked up the guitar when I was 33. So you don't actually have to grow up noodling and doodling in music shops to be able to write songs and do stuff. You can pick it up later and be just fine.
Well, how about you and Dana and Rob? How about you guys? How did you get exposed to music, and how did you start playing instruments?
Actually, I got exposed to music more in the Cincinnati area by these two. I mean, I used to go see them in their respective projects all the time. I hadn't really been playing music in Cincinnati. I had recently moved back in the early 90s to the Cincinnati area proper and was doing solo stuff for a long time, just 4-track, and then wasn't really until I found them that I felt like that's a voice that I really can sink my teeth into. I really find a lot of the same tonal qualities than what they do into the things that I really appreciated. So it was kind of a springboard from that. And never in a million years expected to marry one of them.
I was gonna say, is that why you got married? I don't
No,
know.
and then playing
Solidify the
with-
band
with
through
two of
marriage.
them. Yeah, it's like, it was between like 94, 95 is when things started to kind of really gel. And I started playing music on my own more. Would sort of present other people with the stuff that I was doing, but never really thought about playing in Cincinnati very much until probably 10 years later, and kind of started another project that Jane was a part of at the end. And then
Yeah,
once that dissolved, he was like, well, let's keep going.
keep going. I will say that before Dana tells her origin story, I did stalk Dana for like 6 years. Because
Wow.
I lived upstairs from her, 13th and Main, when I was like 18, you were 17.
Something.
And I was like, that's the coolest person in town.
Oh, yeah.
I've got to.
I will actually say the same thing. The first time I ever laid eyes on Dana was at the Combustible Edison show at Sudsy's. And she walked in and she was the only one who knew how to dress. Everybody else walks in their t-shirts and their grunge stuff. And I'm like, wow, that's really good.
I actually did a window display for that show.
Oh, you did?
I
Where
did.
was that at?
It was at Sudsy's.
Oh, I didn't realize.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that was a great time.
I guess I'm the only one that grew up here.
Mhm.
So I grew up in Cincinnati, and I didn't really start playing until my early 20s as well. But I was always very musical, like voice-wise, and both my grandparents, my grandfather was a college music director. My grandmother was a kindergarten teacher that played piano, and she was an opera singer as well. So I guess it's in my blood, but my mother, not so much. But skipped a generation, I guess.
It always does.
So Dana, how did you start getting into the music scene? Were you already playing an instrument, or were you going out?
No, it was a kind of a weird story. I was in kind of this like noise music group. We would just have parties and everybody sat around and we would just sort of make recordings. So boombox recordings or whatever. And I did that for several years, just like squawking and playing percussion and goofing off. But it was more of a party thing. But then one practice, somebody brought a bass. And I think I was like the third person to get it as it was passed around. And it instantly was like my jam. Like, it was like, she knows how to play. I did not. But somehow it was like this funk song. And then from that moment on, we're like, okay, we're going to try to be a real band. And then that was a band called Devil Nut Mother Hole. Sort of a freaky shock rock kind of Appalachian religious themes. We all dressed up and it was sort of ghoulish.
Where did you play out at?
We played Shorties and Bogarts. We actually opened for the Butthole Surfers. Our very first show was at the Top Hat in Newport, but then our first real show was at Murphy's, but that quickly closed, and then we moved over to Short Vine. We didn't last a whole long time. We recorded and heard what we sounded like, and everyone was horrified. So that's pretty much why we ended. And I splintered off with another part of that group, Kendall the drummer, and Dave the singer, and Bill Weber, and we were called Cosmic Pussy. And that another sort of noise, really abrasive kind of punk type experimental thing. And then when that was short-lived thing ended, we started a 3-piece band called Ditchweed, and we put out a couple records. Opened for a lot of really great bands. It was a timely project, I think, with the whole Sudsy's explosion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that, about Sudsy's in that time period. But I was kind of curious, Jane, what was the first time you saw, or even you, Rob, see Dana play? Because I'm assuming she was playing before you guys were around town.
Actually, Jane and I both had our first show the same year, which was 1989. That's when the Merkins started, and that's when Devil Nut played out. So,
And I was in a little band before that called, it eventually became the Jane Gang, but I was working at the Washington Platform, and It was John Diebel's place, originally from the Thangs. He owned it. And then Doug Dickerson was also a musician. He worked there. And one day I was having my lunch after my shift, and I got a piece of cornbread. I opened up the cornbread, and there was a letter inside that said, "Will you please play the bass in our band?" Because I've been putting the word out that I wanted to play. So I was like, yes, I'll play. So it was great because it was just a couple of years of they did a lot of sort of, 60s covers. So I kind of learned a few basics. And then after that, I was like, I want to write my own stuff. So it was a good starting point. Ended up calling the Jane Gang. And our first show was Michael Riley set us up on his radio show at the Danceable Solution. Is that it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Danceable Solution. And
Was that on Wave?
Yeah, on Wave. Our first show, our live show. First live show.
My first radio show was Earth Damage with Dave Lewis. I never learned the basics.
I don't either. I don't know any notes. Rob sometimes says, "Could you A?" No.
H?
Don't
Can you play
know.
H? That's a good one.
Or
So-
by ear.
So after Jockey Club, it seems like Shortvine sort of became
Yes.
the place.
Kind of.
There was Top Cats, there was Suzzies, and Bogarts was there and
Yeah.
stuff. So
Dollar
what do you
Bills.
guys tell us something about that time period in the 90s of
Oh.
Shortvine?
Just went there probably 4 or 5 nights a week, honestly. Dan and I, McCabe and I once had a stun gun competition in the back office there. I don't know why, but he won. We used to want to get our glossy picture up on the black wall behind the bar, and he would always say, "No, that's for big touring bands." Finally, I think I got one picture over there that was way down by the cash register. But yeah, Dan McCabe was a huge advocate for bringing in amazing touring nationals and just exposing Cincinnati to all of that music, but then adding, great locals to those bills too. So I saw amazing locals, I saw amazing nationals, and I was unfettered at that time. No kids or didn't have a real job, So went out all the time.
If you name anyone from that era, Jane or I probably played a show with them.
Yeah.
Babes in Toyland, Radiolaria, Guided by Voices, Mike Watt. I mean, the list is huge.
The
Wedding Present.
Merkins opened up for Smashing Pumpkins twice. So they probably absolutely hated us because we were very professional.
Well, he liked some of your flyers.
Yeah, he did take the flyer. He's like, I love this flyer.
It's gotta be worth
There was only one. There was only one handmade flyer, so that was the scale of things back then. Unless you went down to Kinko's and,
I often wondered, I wanted to do texture rubbings of all the telephone poles in Shortvine before they tore them down to sort of repatriate everything on that street to something else. Would have been a great little
I loved
study.
Sutsy's. I loved everything about it.
Yeah, I
never
when
did
moved
any
to
laundry
Clifton,
there. Never.
I never did either.
I
And,
did every week. All of my clothes reeked of smoke.
I was there the night that there was some kind of riot running down Shortvine, and they locked the doors, and then the door got smashed, and we were all hiding back there.
Wow, camaraderie.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Yeah, once I did laundry at Sudgy's and I left them there, and I thought, oh yeah, I'll just go back the next day and they'll all be there. Then I remembered, oh yeah, all my clothes are black. There's no way no one's going to not take all those.
And people still come up to me
T-shirts.
in different worlds and
Oh, yeah.
say, I remember you from Sudsy's.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I just went to a sale at the opera with all these costumes, and this girl was like, I remember you from Sudsy's.
Thing about
That's a
Sudsy's
story.
is that I think it felt like there was a consolidated music scene in Cincinnati.
Mhm.
And now there is the Northside Tavern, the Comet, Motor. It's a little bit more, at least from where I sit today, it's a little bit more fractured. But the thing about Sudsy's is that all kinds of music, all people came together, and it just seemed really cohesive, like a cohesive movement.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Very unique time period for sure.
I'm still waiting for Dan to run for mayor.
Yeah, of Indiana.
Yeah, I guess so.
Lawrenceburg, Indiana now.
Did you guys play Top Cats much?
Yeah, we played Top Cats too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Ripley's? Wasn't Ripley's
Yeah,
around?
I played
Ripley's
Ripley's
too.
once. Yeah.
Never got a chance.
Michael
Oh.
Riley dropped his wallet outside the door after the show, and then I guess I found it, and I'm like, oh, it's Michael Riley's. How lucky is that? I
Jenny,
took it
so
over
you
to
know
him.
them.
Yeah.
So you mentioned Michael Riley. You mentioned Dave Lewis. Can you talk about those guys? Because they were kind of movers and shakers of the scene.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Dan McCabe. Talk about those guys a little bit, like some memories of.
Well, the
of,
first time I met David Lewis, it was my very first job when I got my first work permit, 21, and I worked at the Frisch's on Short Vine. It's my first job. And David Lewis used to come in there all the time. And so that's how I got to know him. And then after I quit that place, I moved up to the Alhambra, which was a Middle Eastern restaurant opposite Denny's. I worked there, and Michael Riley came in every day. So both of those guys I got to be really close to, just from seeing them all the time.
I think Dave Lewis, he sort of thinks he's the mentor of Devil Nut Motherhole, because, and he is in some ways. He's like, he always championed us and put us on his show, and he was sort of part of our band in some ways, like on the outskirts from the beginning when we were just a recording thing.
Yeah.
And then he has come back and joined us we had a little reunion for Brett Walls
Yeah.
at the Southgate House, and he joined us for that. But definitely Art Damage, that's my roots.
And I think both of those guys, they're just so supportive of really anything you want to do. Like, you don't have to be anything that you think you need to be. You can just be who you are, and that's fine.
Yeah.
You know, as a somebody that's wanting to write music or wanting to play music or wanting to work their way through a scene.
Experimentation, I think, is at the
Yeah.
root of a lot of that. I think, and there's a lot of opportunity when you can just sort of like forget about the construction of what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
You can do a lot of different
I mean,
things.
not that I don't always feel like an imposter anyway, but if I put that aside, I still truly believe in DIY. Like, to me, the small local show, being in the front row, connecting with the band, and feeling like, you know, I could do that too, or I can do that, or I am doing it, is the pinnacle of everything. I'd rather do that any day of the week than go to a massive super concert with thousands of people.
Yeah.
Just great music at the local level, and, you know, really people that are just, you know, everything just gets kind of homogenized the bigger you get. And so the small bands, they tend to be more innovative and quirky and just interesting.
Although Dave Lewis, like, he had 11,000 Switches, was this angular, like, weirdo band. And then he had, like, the super group, like, Manwich,
Yeah.
which, I mean, that was like rock stars to me. That was before I played. And yeah, Manwich was the
I love both
original
of those bands.
Cincinnati rock stars.
I still sing a lot of those 11,000 Switches songs all the time, like Bhopal. I still sing that all the time in my, just around the house.
Wow.
So
true.
you got to be in a band called Radio Laria
Yes.
in the 90s, and you were in Ditchweed. What opportunities did you have to sort of be able to put out a recording of your music in that time in the 90s?
There were like 3 or 4 little local labels that there was the Unlike label. There was the, what is the Paul Moran label? There was Monocat 7 that the Schwa guys ran. And then Paul Moran from Stitch. What was that record label? You can look it up.
It's like, no.
Google that.
Yeah.
But so there were several little opportunities. And then for $500, you could just put out your own record.
Yeah.
Back then.
We did a lot of like grassroots touring, like
Yeah.
whether it's living rooms or restaurants or places. We tried to tour as much as we could. And we ran into a fellow in Detroit, and he had a little label called Twist Top Records, and he offered to put our records out. So that's how we did that. But yeah, it's just DIY mostly. You know, he did pay for it, but we did everything else, artwork. Well, he paid for the recording too. Thank you for that.
We live in a great spot for that. I mean, in 5 hours, you can get to Indianapolis, Detroit, Columbus,
Yeah.
Cleveland, Chicago, Nashville,
Pittsburgh.
Knoxville, Pittsburgh. Toronto's not that far.
Yep.
We played New York. We would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, get in the van, and play that night. And
Yep.
then usually we'd try to do 2 shows. So we'd do one in Brooklyn, one in Manhattan. But we live in a good spot for rock, for sure.
Yeah, I used to, and that's all of that time period. Like just having a job that paid the bills, so you could do those things all the time was fine. You know, it's harder when you have other things, other responsibilities to actually do that stuff. But I'm glad I got to do it in the '90s because it was really fun. Although it made me realize that sitting in a van all day with people that you know so well is not a lot left to talk about. and then sitting around a smoky bar all evening, because people smoked back then in the bars, and just to play for 40 minutes is not always that great. But if you string together all the fun times, it was good. It was fun.
There's a lot of downtime.
So coming up,
That's when you shop.
Yeah.
coming up in 2026, it's going to be the 30th anniversary of when Fairmount Girls started.
Yes.
So what's the story in the Fairmount Girls? Because you guys were in bands already. So how did the Fairmount Girls come about?
Well, I'll tell my origin story first for the Fairmount Girls, and then Dana can correct it. All right. So in my mind, that I had been in a band with Melissa Fairmount, Big Green Carpet, that had broken up. And I felt that 8 months had gone by, and I knew she was looking for something and needed something. So part of my impetus was to get her engaged in a project, being a friend and wanting to, keep her going, moving forward, supporting the women in music. And I had this dumb idea that everybody in the band should play an instrument they've never played before. So in my case, it was the guitar. I knew 3 chords. And no, 2 chords. And she didn't know how to do anything. So I said, you can play the keyboards, and we'll get Dana, and we'll get, Marnie. She can actually play the bass. So she played the bass. But that was kind of part of the idea. And plus we all had lived or bought or rented, whatever it might be, houses in South Fairmount, and which ranged from $13,000 to 55, 60,000,
Maybe 40.
maybe 40,000. So that's kind of how the name came about. So that was the 2 things. You had to live in South Fairmount, everybody did, and you had to play a different instrument, with the exception of Marnie. Go.
Yeah, we've loosened up those qualifications since then. Everyone. So I pieced together some drums, and that's how we started. I don't know if I have anything to add to that.
Well,
Yeah.
how did you pick up drums? You were playing bass and now you had to play drums?
Yeah, my partner in Ditchweed, Kendall, had a lot of drums, so I just sort of took a lot of his leftovers and a minimal kit. And Marnie Greenholtz is an actual rock star. She has played like over 100 shows with Sonic Youth, like all over the world, and was in a band called Live Skull in New York City, a no wave band. So even though I don't think we all revered her, but she definitely had some cred. So
She knew the names of the notes too, which sometimes was helpful.
and she just had like this balls out like attitude. So we had that. So we were all right, like learning our trade.
Yeah.
And then Melissa, the only correction I have is that you called it keyboard, because Melissa is very adamant about it being an organ.
Yes.
So it's a Farfisa organ, and that is a big element of Fairmount Girls sound.
It is.
So-
That organ came from when I was in the Jane Gang. The Jane Gang was bequeathed that organ from the Thangs. That is the original Thangs organ that she plays.
There's like 30 coats of paint on it.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
that was another thing of Fairmount Girls. We had a theme for every show. So we used to have them all written. There's in some notebook, but So
What were-
Melissa would paint it, spray paint it.
What were some of the themes? What were
Our first theme was chartreuse. So we had one theme, we played Jammin' on Main, and our theme was Sherbert suits. So they're ridiculous themes, some of them.
Yeah.
Never forget the
I
trash
used to-
bag
I-
theme.
Yeah,
we
we
had students fashion students from
DAP,
UC, from
yeah.
DAP come and actually make trash bag outfits for us to wear on stage that night.
Yeah,
So-
like high fashion. Like mine had one sleeve, and Shannon's was like tiered out like June Cleaver.
Yeah.
And they were amazing.
This was on Jammin' at Maine.
No, this
This
was
was
at
at
Sudsies.
Sudsies.
It was
Oh,
our
this
record
was Sudsies,
release
yeah. I mean-
show.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
no
We've
stress.
done
No stress
so
with
many
Darlene
themes.
though. We don't really have themes.
We used to be a little bit more rigid about it. Now we've kind of loosened up. Dana, we kind of like,
Follow Dana.
Dana's got the best wardrobe. We have like, shit.
I can do any theme. Anything.
That's true. You can. You always help out because I'm like, Dana, what am I going to wear? I don't have anything. Well, I got these 2 shirts. You can try one of them.
We've done Blade Runner, Picnic. I don't know any. I
Yeah.
can't.
I used to throw things out theme for the
Three's
Fairmont Girl
Company.
themes.
Three's Company.
Oh, we did a great Three's Company.
that was
We're halfway
great.
there.
You were such a
That was
good Jack
Halloween. That
Trimmer.
was at the that was at that little hole in the
The
wall.
Rakes
The
End.
Rakes,
Rakes
the
End,
Rakes
yeah.
End.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Missed
that was
place.
fun.
So how has Fairmont Girls, has it evolved, or is it just you is this as it was from the beginning, the same philosophies or something?
Can I say
Oh.
something as an observer? That band has evolved so much, but has still retained the core of what they started to be. And in fact, I feel like because of these 2, they managed to keep the vision going for a long time, as well as Melissa.
Yeah, Melissa.
Yeah, but they've had people come and go, including myself. I got a chance to play with you once, and that was kind of a
That was in
great
Detroit, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was a great show.
And Dayton.
I think I was the 22nd member.
Yeah.
double.
See, we
or
give
022.
honorary numbers because
001, 00, what's your number?
I'm 4.
004.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it has.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think
We've also devolved. So
devolved.
There was a
Devolved,
moment when Melissa started playing guitar.
reversed.
yeah,
That
we
was a
did. We
huge
tried
change.
to change our name once.
Yeah.
We did. We changed it for like 4 months to Pillbug. And then we're like, we don't even like this name. And we still have to say formerly Fairmount Girls. So
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
so
right.
we just finally, accepted. I took some time off when my daughters were really, really small because these guys wanted to do a whole bunch of stuff. So, and then they taught me into coming back, and I was like, all right. And then I love it.
even Shadler comes back for
yeah.
a couple times a year.
You guys are having a big New Year's thing in
We are.
Yep.
2026, right?
Yep.
Comment, New Year's.
Do you know anything about getting the key to the city? Because that's my goal. I
can-
want the key
can-
to
I
the
know-
city
yeah.
this year.
Got a couple
Uh,
other people.
Maybe a street name.
Fairmont Girls
Alley.
Way.
Alley.
Oh yeah, Alley.
Right next to Gano Street. That'd be a
Fairmont
good one.
Girls Alley. That's got a sorted ring to
Ruth
it.
Lyons Lane and Fairmont Alley.
The other thing I want to say about the Fairmont Girls is, just as women and to women that bring very different sensibilities to the table, different ideas. Just the collaboration is just super important. We're not trying to, be a certain kind of female band in a certain genre. It's just, again, every band that I can even possibly be in has to be collaborative. Like we've never had someone say, here's the song and now you write your parts. Like we don't ever write like that. Dana and I always write with just a little like idea of a melody, and then it just builds it, and she throws some words on, and you throw words on it. That's the same for Darlene as it is for Fairmont Girls. It's very collaborative, and I've actually tried to be in a band that seemed to have a king person writing the songs, and it terrified me. I had to quit. I did. Why are you quitting? Because it's horrible.
Well, it's not creative if you can't provide.
No, exactly. You have to put
texture
the
to
blocks
it.
on, So
And you
So-
guys have Fairmont Girls have played out. You guys have played in other cities, and I think didn't you open for a band who were nobodies, but now are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame recently.
Yeah,
I was on
we did.
maternity leave. I didn't get to do that. Dana did that show.
Yeah, we opened for the White Stripes. It was the White Stripes, the Greenhorns, and then we were the opening in
Cleveland,
yeah,
right?
in Cleveland
But
at
ballroom.
Beachland Ballroom.
Great show, eh?
Yeah, that was a highlight for sure.
Well,
And then we had a house party afterwards. And our friend that we took with us as our roadie always says, we'll repeat like how I'm Josh, I'm Jack. Like,
That's funny.
is there other memorable venues you guys have played at as the Fairmont Girls or as Darlene?
CBGB's.
yeah, Fairmont's played with CBGB's towards the end.
And we played at the Bovine Sex Club in Toronto, and Dana played in a cage.
That
seen
was
that.
that was
That's amazing.
We actually went there when we were up in Toronto, not last Christmas, but the year before, didn't we?
It's still
Yeah.
there.
Still
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Oh, cool.
It's
Yeah.
now a sort of a Tex-Mex restaurant on one side, and then it's still a club next
How did-
door.
How did you get that booking? Do you remember?
It was part of the North by Northeast
Yeah.
music, I guess,
It was the festival.
festival.
Mm.
Yeah. And then we played that. There was another thing that we played, obviously, in New York many times, but there was another, like, I don't know, like agenda type of, what was that? It was
In where?
in New York City. We went up there for that. It was like a gender-oriented
Meow
festival.
Mix?
No, not a club. It was a festival. A blank spot there. Can't remember. It
It'll
all
come to
runs
you.
together.
You'll think of it
I know.
before the
4
ceremony's
a.m.
over.
They don't really do a lot of those. I mean, there's South by Southwest, but I feel like there used to be a bunch of them. Like my other group, Culture Queer, played Pop Montreal. We played Toronto, Montreal, and a bunch of like North by Northeast, CMJ.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were a
How come
bunch
you
of
guys
those.
never played South by Southwest? I was always surprised by that.
That one's
We applied.
yeah, that one's
We
hard to
already
get in, or
applied,
you have
too.
to have a manager or some kind of way in
We
for
have to
that
be
one.
like you have to have a label. I think we never
Probably.
really had a label that had any
That was
stature.
real.
Although I did drive to New York in Hurricane Floyd. That
Yeah.
I was driving to New York. Hurricane Floyd was coming in. We met in New York. We were the only van on the highway. It was white knuckled the whole way. Everybody was streaming out of the city. It was accident after accident. Cars were flipped over, and
I couldn't.
I
had
drove
to,
the whole.
like,
She
get
couldn't
over the
look. She had
head.
her hat over her face the whole time. But
Was anybody at the show? Was everybody out of the
yeah.
city?
Yeah, our show was the next day, so it recovered somehow. Actually, we went to some great parties. We went to like this loft party in Soho that Ronnie Spector played, and the whole place was covered with that Steve Keen's artwork.
Oh, yeah.
Who does, I don't know if you know who that is, but he does like the Pavement album cover, a bunch of different indie
Yeah.
rock. And he was there, and he had like 20 different copies of the same painting. So it was a buy one for $5, like an honor system, put it in the box. And then as soon as you bought it, he would replace it with an identical version of it. Anyway, crazy.
I just bought his retrospective book, and I bought one for you.
Yeah, I love that book.
Yeah, I got a bunch of those too. They're down in the basement.
Well, I want to get back to Darlene a little bit.
Yeah,
if
yeah.
That's okay. Well, you already answered some of my questions here already, but I was kind of curious about your recordings. So your first recordings were done like maybe 2008. It was like an EP.
Yeah,
think.
it was a DIY thing that Jeremy
Jeremy.
Lesniak recorded for us. That was a really good record. Some really like raw kind of formative stuff for the band. I think we got a chance to just sort of first time we actually heard ourselves sort of writing these songs, and I'm like, these aren't half bad. And we immediately were started. We were already writing more material, and we just sort of like segued into another record with Jeremy like a year or two later.
Yeah, where was that EP recorded at?
Was it in,
I think we recorded it at the practice space
Yeah, it was-
and then mixed it
that's
at my
right.
house or
On the north
something.
side.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like whatever. A really infamous practice space that we had. That was there was all kinds of issues with that place.
It was-
get into the details.
Well,
We
listen,
got
if
at
you
least
have-
tell one detail.
If you have rats, nobody should be putting down rat poison because the
No.
rats go off into the walls and then they die and it smells horrendous.
Then
Who does that?
Then
the
the
flies
come back.
come. And then someone hangs fly strips.
all over the park. Yeah, I'm not going to name names, whoever did that, but it wasn't this band.
So it was a band that name started with the letter T and ended in the sound illies.
Yeah, that was a
Oh.
fun time. Yeah, you can edit that out.
It's behind the scenes stories of the music industry you don't ever hear about.
Well, we survived that. I think the rule of thumb is that the smell of decay is very inspirational. You really write
We've
some
had
great
to
music.
move. We moved
Yeah,
out.
we actually wrote a song called Ratso Rizzo about that. It was not an homage to Ratso Rizzo, the character. It was an homage to surviving that damn practice space
Yeah, it
because
was
it was
horrible.
so horrible. But you'd literally like stand in a square in the middle of the room and your peripheral vision could see stuff moving. And like,
God.
yeah, fortunately, whoever like ended up with that place is still
Just
there.
to paint one part of the picture, it was so intense. There was so many. It was an infestation of thousands and thousands and thousands of rats. I actually took my kids down there to see it. And I pulled into the parking lot. And as I pulled in, waves of rats were jumping out of the grass
Totally.
into
Totally.
the woods.
It was like the Serengeti.
It was.
no.
It was. I've never seen anything like
And
it.
they're like, ew, Mom.
And then
Let's get outta
they
here.
had they had tunneled underneath the step to go in. So when you, instead of like stepping on a flat step, it was like leaning like this because
Yeah.
they
Good times.
evacuated all the soil from underneath.
Dana loved it.
I was going to have to quit.
Yeah. We ended up finally moving to another space because it was just too much.
Well, that EP is called Studio of Beauty. Is
Yes.
that a reference to this?
So this is a story
Major
there.
play on
Okay.
terms.
So this place that we
That's it.
practiced in was rented out by the owner of the whole building, and it was a sign shop.
Yeah.
So he took down these old signs and replaced them with uglier signs, you know. But the Studio of Beauty sign was one that he had taken down, and the actual, hair salon is on Winton Road.
Yeah, Brentwood
Um,
Plaza.
Yeah, Brentwood Plaza. So he saved it, and it had like the male and female like 70s hairstyles.
It looks like John Oates.
We just
Totally.
love it. We just loved it. So we took it with us. We stole it. We took it
still
with
have
us.
it.
We
Yeah,
still
it's
have
great.
it in
That
our
was the
practice
inspiration
space
for
because
that.
it's a studio of beauty, you know. And we actually use the little heads as one of our buttons, don't we?
Yeah. It's bumper stickers.
Well, I was wanted to know what. Obviously, you guys have listened to a lot of music, all that. When you did Darlene, what was your influences? Would you say with Darlene? Do you know? Was there any known influences
Gosh.
for the sound?
Hard to say.
I would say a little bit of like a guided by voices thing, just because like we all kind of like that short and sweet type quick verse chorus out.
Yeah.
You know?
Or they don't even put the chorus in. They're like, verse done.
That's true
That's true.
sometimes.
We like starting songs off with the chorus. That's kind of freaky.
Oh.
Doing that.
I think one of the things about not being a school musician and not being somebody that is just kind of collecting ideas and maybe hearing things in their head and trying to learn how to play the things they hear is that you're not usually trying to go in any direction specifically because you're so excited that you can actually come up with something at all that that somebody else can connect with or you can connect with it. Like to me, that's, obviously I would say my biggest influences have always been kind of punk, pop, more of that sensibility than anything else. Short, sweet, to the
We
point.
do like a melody. I think
I
melody's
love
really
melody.
huge.
Melody is
Like,
king in my view.
I think the three of us,
A hook.
Jane's kind of like Captain Hook. She goes by that name sometimes. She comes up with a great hook, and Dana and I will like just sort of like follow with some of our own harmonizing with that. I think Dana and I tend to work together pretty quickly with like harmonies and stuff like that, even if they're not really well sung by me. She does a really good job of putting up with me.
Yeah,
But,
I
feel
was
like
I was
that's
wanting
part of
to talk about your vocaling on those recordings. Like, how do you guys work out, or just
It's just
We've
intuitive.
always done it.
Yeah, it's just we just find a interval that seems to be. Well, I will say that the strange thing is that Dana will end up singing the bass or tenor part, and sometimes I'll sing the alto part, which is a really weird like switch. And she's like, "I don't know if I can sing that." And Snow is like, "No, keep going. It sounds really good." And we're constantly flipping back and forth between those two intervals. I think it's kind of fun that way. There's no like preconception either. I think that's part of it is like coming to something, and you know how it is like. We literally like record the stuff. We'll listen to it for like a half a year before it finally gets to a point where we feel like, oh, that's where that's going, you know. And then we kind of have these like mumblings going on for the melody, but no direct relationship to the lyrics necessarily. And then sort of after the fact, sort of pulling meaning out of that stuff. I feel like that comes. We start to do it a lot more together lately. Sort of like, what are you singing about there? What are you singing about?
The
there?
melody's quick.
Yeah, it's always
but then
about the
we're
melody.
always like
agonizing over the
huddled in
freaking
the
song.
studio trying
What's it
to
about?
trying
Who
to
knows? It's about pots and pans. Perfect. Can't get any better than that. But we do sing. We write songs about really mundane stuff, and then we write songs that are about stuff that is like so personal. There is no way we would ever reveal what the song's about. You know, it's just like a real. We need to write something really lighthearted now, okay? But they're usually really short, and I think that's a challenge to try to write these little 2 or 3 minute operas, kind of like that's.
we have this song, we don't really play it anymore. It's got this real like sweet poppy lilty thing, and then it's like nothing to live for. So
happy songs like that.
I like that.
Just like me, you'll always second
I always
best.
feel like if Pee Wee Herman had actually been an indie band, this is the kind of stuff that I would hope that he'd like. You know, it's like, you want to tour with us? That'd be so awesome.
I love the way you guys write lyrics and the vocal parts, because I like stuff that, you know, like the Clash, for instance. I mean, they were amazing. There's so pop. There were so many things that you could pick up on. You may not know all the words, but there was a little line or two that you could, you know, sing out with and sing along with, and
that would be the one line you'd sing out when you sing the song, right?
that I love that. You know, there's always some vocal hook that you're getting excited about singing. You know, you don't know what the context is, but I find nothing more annoying than long-winded singer-songwriters that, you know, tell you from Genesis to Exodus.
Stir the pot.
You know,
Yeah.
seven verses of a long-winded story. It's just like get the, you know, it's abstract. Get the ideas out there. You know, they don't all have to fit together in you know, perfect crystal vision. They can be fragments and still work.
I kind of look at Darlene's song structures as, yeah, you get the verse, chorus, and there's like the really oddball bits that maybe are in the middle or at the end. But there's always kind of a sense of encapsulated grandness to it, I guess, is kind of the best way to put it. I'm not sure if that fits with what you guys are thinking.
Some of my favorites, songwriters are the ones like you can't understand what they're saying.
Yeah.
And somehow, like a Kurt Cobain or a Tom York, I never know what either of them is saying, but I can sing along.
Yeah.
I don't want to know what Michael Stipe's singing about. I just want
Michael
to
Stipe
mumble those
too.
lyrics along.
Well,
Yeah.
I was reading somewhere in some write up about you guys. I'm assuming this came from you guys, but is nursery rhymes? Was that something you guys were inspired by, or am I reading?
I mean,
occasionally, we were sort of like that sensibility of like things kind of rhyme in a way that nursery rhymes kind of do, not necessarily being inspired by them.
Yeah.
But, we may have forgotten that reference.
Yeah, I think that was early on.
Yeah, back when we were searching for
Thanks
material.
for bringing that up again.
Yeah, right.
Although Melissa and I one time had started a band called La La Land that we wanted to start every show with acting out a nursery rhyme.
Oh man, gotta do that.
It was like the two of us, a guitar player and a trombone. It was like,
And that in the world of DIY, you can do anything.
yeah.
Romper room.
And you guys put out another EP later on, Shiny and Bright.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Actually, that was a full length.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was a full length, and that was kind of a big project for us because it was the first time we'd asked somebody to play along with us on the record. We had our girls and Sam Wormelsdorf's daughter Piper sang some backing vocals for us. So it was kind of fun to kind of bring a kid vocal into a couple of songs, and then we had John Earhart.
Yeah, John Earhart played with us.
From the Ass Ponies played on a song.
And we had Dan
for
play
us.
on a song.
So
Dan
that's
McCabe.
all
McCabe.
Lesniak again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Lesniak. So it was the first time we really kind of like, we didn't necessarily write it in the studio, but we kind of embellished it once we got there. Like, hey, it'd be really nice to kind of infuse this stuff with people we really admire.
And where did you record that?
That was also in Camp Washington, I think, was at that time, right? You know, we did.
It's still.
We had
It
to do
feels
it.
like
It was in
practice
Northside.
space.
It
Yeah.
feels like, oh, the band's got a bigger budget. They're hiring all these people, but we still paid for it.
Yeah, it's totally DIY. I mean,
Yeah.
down to the penny. God, we don't make any money on that stuff. But that one was actually recorded also in our practice space in Northside, and then we just sort of overdubbed it in Camp Washington. So we've worked with Jeremy Lesniak for the most part for the first couple of records, and then we started shifting over to, we recorded with Steve Wellington for the last
The
two
last
records.
two.
Yeah.
And then we're actually working with him again on our up-and-coming
And-
record.
His studio is New Fidelity?
He was at there for a short time at that point, and now he's with
Candyland.
with Mike
Oh, Mike.
Montgomery's
Yeah.
studio. He records.
We
on
love working with
him.
him.
He's kind of an unsung.
He's almost like our
hero
fourth
for us.
member
Yeah.
during that time period.
Yeah, he's been.
What is it about him that you like collaborating with him?
He's just so. I think he understands what
He
we're
gets
doing.
us for
yeah,
sure.
he's really into like dark wave, indie stuff, and alternative stuff from the '80s and early '90s. I feel like he's kind of always appreciated some of the things that we do that sort of harken back to a little bit of that. And I think sonically, it's similar to the things that he's worked on. He's done a lot of projects on his own that we kind of admired over time. Sometimes it's another band that Gabe Molnar was in a band with him for a while. So we've kind of known him, but didn't know that he was an engineer. And sort of through the back roads of people working with him, we said, let's give him a chance to see what he likes.
And he's open to ideas,
Yeah.
and he's. I never feel. I'm very susceptible to feeling judged. So if I feel judged, then it's hard to keep going.
Yeah.
You sort of like implode. But he's, he never makes me feel that way. Like, I'm like, this is my idea. I can't actually play it. I'm kind of thinking this, and it does enough. He's so patient. He gives me time to kind of work through it. Whereas I always feel like if it was somebody that I didn't know as well, or somebody that was like super engineer, I would be more intimidated and I'd implode. I won't be able to do anything.
He's finally gotten to a point, I feel like, not that we necessarily use anybody as a producer, but he's actually taken on a role of being able to say, hey, I think you could do better. And then
Oh yeah.
that takes a lot of comfort to be able to say that to somebody that's trying to do something creative
Yeah.
that they're like really nervous about and really sort of second guessing what they're doing sometimes. And if you need somebody to sort of help you edit what you're doing, it's really hard to find.
Well,
people.
I always make a joke when we walk into the studio. I'm like, well, we're here with a bunch of half-baked ideas.
I was going to ask, do you guys ever have any demos you present to him beforehand, or you
Well,
guys just kind of
the
work
one
it
we're
out?
working on now, we did flesh them out almost to the point where we felt like this is exactly what we want. Not that there wasn't room for evolution in the studio, but that's the first time we've been that prepared. I mean, at least as far as the music goes, the words were out there somewhere, but nobody has captured those. And,
The album before the one we're doing now.
the one we're doing now, we had some stuff. It kind of worked out ahead of
I
time.
think it has a lot to do with the amount of time that it's taken place
Yeah.
while we've been writing those songs, that he's sort of known about some of these songs, that we started a process with a few songs, and then let's revisit that and let's
Yeah.
try a couple of those again.
Yeah, of course, the other big motivator is that we only have so much money, and when the prices go up, then we want to be as efficient as possible.
Yeah.
We're adults now, apparently. We have to think
You
about
did the last few Culture Queer albums too.
Mhm. Yeah, he's super
He's
efficient.
comfortable.
Yeah.
He is
Yeah, and
fast.
he knows what he's doing, and he also is open to suggestion too, which is it's hard to do when you're dealing with personalities when you're an engineer. It's like everybody's got their ideas how they want something to sound, and you have to be really patient to do that kind of work. Because I'm really good at that. I admire that about him. Good guy.
I got to ask about the artwork on your albums. I really love the artwork. How did you guys go about doing the artwork?
Well, let's go back.
Let's see.
Uh,
Well, I know the Shiny and Bright, we pretty much art directed that with Melissa Selesky, and
Yeah.
we shot it out in my backyard under this big tree and
yep.
gave her the aluminum foil outfit. And
Yeah.
Yeah, there was sort of some art direction with that. And then, McMicken, our friend Stacy from Detroit, spent the night after a Fairmount show and went outside and drew a bunch of the houses across the street from me. And we just really loved that. And that's the McMicken record.
Yeah.
So it's very Cincinnati looking, Italianette little cottages.
Mhm.
Yep.
We've had local artists.
Oh,
that have done some
McMicken.
work.
I'm getting them all mixed up.
Yeah,
but,
that was Genius Lives Next Door.
yeah.
Genius is Next Door, which
Yeah.
is
That's
full
a
record,
Yeah.
but it's on a 7-inch.
Right.
McMicken was
download?
the Jen Black.
Jen Black.
Oh
right.
yeah, Jen Black.
I love
So
that.
we
That
have-
was a painting.
She
that
was in a band with Rochelle and shared our practice space,
Yeah.
yeah,
and that's
with
how we got to know her.
Daisy
a little
from
bit.
Lung. It was
And
sort of pre-Lung.
Pre-Lung.
Babe Rage.
Yeah. Babe Rage.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she was in fact, I've got a painting on my wall with her. It's just
Mhm, mhm.
amazing.
Good stuff.
And so she painted that for
They.
us. Yeah.
It's been a long time since I thought about those record covers.
So yeah, the Genius Lives Next Door was a combination of our friend from Detroit who's in
Dear Darkness.
Dear Darkness. Thank
Yeah.
you, Dear Darkness. And then we went outside and did a photo shoot day, and we're like, well, if 500 shots, this is the one we can live with.
Yeah, we don't like putting ourselves on the record, that's for sure. That was a kind of a break in comfort level for some of us.
Now, in Fairmount Girls, back in the age of real photography, we'd have this pile of photos, and it would start with number one. You'd be like, nope, 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 nope. Hand it along. By the end, you'd have like one choice.
Yeah, I guess that's fine.
That works.
That's good Polaroid.
I wanted to ask you about Genius Lives Next Door. You have a song there called Common Law Cabin, which I guess you kind of have as a single. Was that like a reference to Suzy Malone?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
If you listen to it, there's probably like 20 or 30 different band. It was sort of, Rob drove us to Detroit one time, Fairmount Girls, and on the way back, we started, let's try to think of as many bands that we can from that era, as obscure as we could get. So I had this huge notebook full. You had to pick ones that sounded right together, but yeah, there's all these references. And Common Law Cabin was a band from Louisville with, I think they might have even stayed at your house or something.
They stayed
when
at my
you,
house
with
once.
Yeah, when you
Yeah.
lived with Pat. They played
Wow.
with the Tiger Lilies, and it was this really flamboyant, like kind of soul singer with like a punk band. It was a weird mix. Yeah, Common Law
We
Cabin.
had a lot of bands play at that stay over.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah, it was fun
Yeah.
having bands stay over. And we stayed over with a ton of bands too over the
Yeah.
years. I stayed at in Brooklyn. Who's from Brooklyn?
Oh, yeah.
Can't remember.
You know who's from here, who lives in Brooklyn?
No, they're from Brooklyn.
La Salvi Five?
No. Never mind. New Jersey, actually. New Jersey. Keep going. I'll remember.
Yola Tango?
Yeah, Yola Tango.
Yeah,
Played
yeah.
on their floor once.
Yeah, they played at Suzy's.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Was Ass Ponies opened up for that show?
For sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We
I
Rudy
think
Laurie
you
played a
played
bunch of
with them.
times with them out on the road, different places. That was a lot of fun.
Well, I was curious to know, since you guys are putting records out now, how is that experience different, like actually trying to maybe making it and actually making a product? How is that different? Is it cheaper? Is it easier? What is the experience like? I mean, I guess in the 90s you had CDs, but now you have so many different options now.
We like doing vinyl now because we love the expanse that you can have the artwork. I mean, really, honestly, it's for us. You know,
You're
it's
not
like,
making any money on those.
yeah, we're not covering our costs in any way, shape, or form. We're just making an artifact, you know, and the artifact itself has value to us.
Way
And-
more expensive.
And it's way more expensive.
We're talking like $3-4 grand pretty much to
Yeah.
do
Just
a
a
full
minimal
length,
run.
full LP, like a run of 500 maybe. But
So you throw our money in the pot, and you know, we had this bad idea of doing a 7-inch, and
I thought it was a great idea.
I
then
bad
being a
idea.
full length
Affordable idea.
download, but nobody ever like puts. Oh, you did that 7-inch. So, you know, 2 songs. Like it's actually a full length download.
Yeah, I'm putting that in my list of advice to people. Like, don't fall for the putting out a 7-inch. Nobody wants a 7-inch really, unless it's a 7-inch.
We should re-release it as a full length
We should.
double album.
On 2 CDs.
I know.
When I win the
red
lottery,
vinyl.
I'm gonna start a record label just to put out anything I want.
Yeah. I always wanted us to start a record label. It was going to be
Me too.
Squash and Flat Records.
Mine was
Was my
gonna be
name.
called Smoking Patio Records.
Yeah. What happened to our Pet Cemetery idea?
That's your idea.
That's not a label, that's a lifestyle.
But you're the.
I could get into like funeral events though.
Yeah, funeral. You're the event person. You're the stylist. You know.
This is what we do at practice. I swear to God. But at least the first hour, we're like, it's like anything and everything.
Well, how has Spotify changed things for
Oh,
you
not at
guys?
all.
No?
Anything else?
I mean,
Has it what's the good and bad of Spotify for a band from Cincinnati like you guys?
well, it's fun having our stuff on there.
Yeah, it's nice having it on there. It's hard to say. You can be negative about it because, you know, we don't have any illusions of making money. You know, that's.
Are we still on Apple Music?
I feel
too?
bad for people who are like losing money because that's their career, and that's a hard thing to swallow.
Yeah, that we're at the other
They're
end of
really-
the spectrum.
We're at the very end of the spectrum where it's like, you know, we're happy to have music that people can access quickly, but yeah, we feel bad that people aren't getting their just desserts for that. It's
We made some royalties once. It was like 9 cents or
we
something.
made like $50 one year. That was great.
Oh,
It
Well,
wasn't
now
from
I think
Spotify.
they're sort of politically offensive, and
Yeah.
which is kind of scary because, like, what do you do now? Like, oh, my funeral mix is on there, so
Don't die.
oh, we are still on Apple Music.
Oh yeah.
So that's impressive. Like when people at work, they're like, "So you still playing music? What kind of music?" They're like, "Well, we're on Apple Music. We're on Spotify." You are.
Yeah, the funny
People
thing
That's
is,
my
it's-
most hated question. Like
Yeah.
for just like normal people, like, are you still playing? I just
never stopped. Thanks.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a weird thing. I feel like because I kind of, from a personal perspective, I started producing music in a digital age where I've always been a part of it. It's made sense to me because of its immediacy. I was able to produce some solo records that I wouldn't have been able to do that. And had I had an opportunity to distribute that work the way Spotify allows you to do as an aggregate through CD Baby or DistroKid, and Spotify is just one of those outlets. It's not the only one, and I think people forget that that's become like sort of the Amazon of the music expendability. It's like that it sort of diminishes for a lot of people that sort of niche that you used to have. I feel like Bandcamp is really that deserves
Yeah.
a lot more attention than it gets, and I feel like that's the kind of thing that I really wished I'd been more aware of at an earlier time when we were putting
we
digital
kind of
music
missed the
out.
boat on the Bandcamp thing. I think psychologically missed the boat.
There's a lot of
Yeah.
that backpedaling
How's
because it became a big thing right at the time when we had already sort of shipped it back to vinyl, and we weren't really thinking about a digital presence necessarily, at least a web presence. People aren't really doing websites anymore, and Bandcamp allows people to do that to a form that is really about marketing themselves in a way that they can take advantage of versus a faceless corporate entity. And, there's two sides to that. You're not going to get as many people, but, like I said, we don't really have any thoughts about making a bunch of money because, we're just doing it because we enjoy it. That's about it.
Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah.
I mean,
would be nice to quit my job and be able to do that full time, but I probably wouldn't do it just with this project. I would probably be doing 30 projects.
I would say that I'm not wired to be a self-promoter. Are you?
Not really.
No, it's hard. It's hard for us to do.
Dana is.
So
not really. I'm not a self-promoter.
You promote a lot of stuff.
You're better at it than I don't know. I mean,
You sell yourself short.
When you used to make one flyer and like color it in and get the font right for the bands.
I think that's the thing that
take it to Kinko's and staple it up. Like,
that's the part of it that I miss because there was a lot of creativity to putting together a grassroots ad campaign on flyers, and that gave you a sense of you're putting something physical out there. People are collecting. I know people. We collect people's flyers like nobody's business.
Oh yeah.
I mean, can't even tell you how many we have, but it's like there's no more tangibility in taking with you anymore, and that's just the way things are. But
yeah.
I feel like in order to promote yourself nowadays, man, you got to really work hard. You have to really be on social media constantly, and I don't like being on social media that much. It's like I'd rather live being in a band, playing music rather than worrying about that stuff. And if somebody finds out about us through social media, that's great, and we'll do a certain amount of promotion for stuff, but man, we're not very good at it. I'm gonna say we're gonna be the first to admit
I know we need somebody that's got more,
But I'd rather contact people individually and say, "Hey, we're playing. We'd like for you to know it. And if you don't come to the show, I hate you." But that's okay. They understand. No, I don't feel like that way at all. Seriously.
So let's talk about playing live. How often do you guys getting to go out and doing live shows? How often with your schedules? I know you guys work and stuff. So.
Yeah, I would say not enough. I mean, I'd like to do more. I'd like to play out more. I think we kind of got wrapped up in working on this record and
we go in spurts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we've got some stuff booked now, so I'm excited. I would play more. I mean, there's nothing holding me back anymore. Mm-hmm. Work doesn't hold me back.
Yeah, it's difficult to challenge because they have a respective project as well. You're constantly trying to give people an opportunity to play shows so that you're not sort of taking the limelight from an opportunity that they might be more suited for. So there's a little bit of the give and take with that sometimes, and that's kind of fun because I can get to come as a spectator and I have to be in the band. But then sometimes we're like, well, that would be a better show for Darlene maybe because it's probably a couple of bands with a couple of people in the band more suited for us.
There's a lot of great bands out in Cincinnati right now, so there's a lot of competition.
It's amazing.
For those few
It's
cool
hard to keep
spots
up.
to play.
It's so hard.
There's a lot of new bands.
And
And
I
I'm
think
excited about that. That's just the way it should be.
we would probably play more if we were going out more. I think I would probably be a little bit more aware of what's going on because, the older we get, the more opportunities that we have on our weekends are sort of precious. So playing out in the middle of the week is kind of the only time you can really do it sometimes. And, I'd like to go see more shows and I'd like to be able to play more shows with other people, but I need to educate myself a little bit more. I feel like I used to be out like every single night of the week for years on end. And it's like, man, I had to really sit and think about who were the last 4 bands I saw live that we didn't play with. And it's gotten to the point now where most of the times I go out and see a band, it's a band one of you guys have played with or we're playing with. And that's sad. I really like
You
like
go
to
out
do
went
that.
out
5 nights
Friday.
a week.
I did go out Friday.
We all went out
So
Friday.
there. Thanks, Dana.
Melissa Fairmount has a new band called Falconry.
Yeah.
Very cool. Like
Awesome
kind of this sort of swirly, psychedelic kind of Mo Tuckery with an organ and really cool.
Yeah.
And they played with Josiah Wolf.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, he's legendary.
Mhm. Yeah.
Oh,
so
and the Andrew, that I think he was here at the last time at Abia's show. He played as
yeah.
well, like kind of this electronic headbanging stuff.
cool.
So how do you feel like the scene, the Cincinnati music scene, how has it changed since the 90s? I don't know if you can put that into words. I don't know.
There's just so much.
Well,
Right.
here's
It hasn't really. Cincinnati has got always had a great music scene. So it's just like chugging along. Like
Yeah.
there's some new faces. Like the Art Damage thing was really hot in the early aughts, and like the sort of like harder indie pop kind of thing, and then now it's sort of gone back to a little bit of a 90s kind of sound. Like a lot of the young bands have this sort of 90s sound.
Yeah.
one of the things that really kind of framed it for me fairly recently is when we met Spoils. We love Spoils, and then when they said, well, we love you guys, and we play your records all the time, the Fairmont Girls, and we feel really like influenced by you, and like to have a young, really awesome band like put anything on us. It was just so great. We share a room space with them now, and we just have the best thoughts for them, because it's just to see these younger folk, younger than us anyway, out there, forging their own path with their own quirky DIY, barely playing their instruments. I just love it. I love it.
Playing really well. Actually, I will say that there's a caliber of musicianship that has really astounded me over the last 5 or 6 years. The shows that I've seen, the kids that went to school with our daughters are like in these bands that are like, where the hell did this come from? I mean, they're the layers of stuff. I think that's the one thing about music now that has really astounded me is the amount of texture and the attention to detail that's happening for a stage show versus just, slapping the stuff on a record and playing to a loop or something like that. That's great too. But at the same time, people are doing this stuff live that is just so amazing. And not just DJ stuff. I mean, I'm just like, people are doing these things that are just so well thought out technically, but that there's the core of it is all just very, very indie. And I really appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, you're
There's so
right.
much of
That's
that.
great. It's
Yeah.
true. And I mean, we're all on a journey with this stuff, and but I just love the idea that if you have the drive and there's something you want to do and conquer in your life, if it includes being in a band playing music, it's all out there. You can just do it. You don't have to, have a certain type of upbringing or a certain type of, she started at the age of 5 and she's a virtuoso. No, she started at the age of 33 and now she can play 4 chords, and that's okay. That's her journey. You
That's
laugh,
true.
but it's true.
No, it's so true. So true. No, I think that I've always said this. Every single year I remind myself that there's never going to be more music available to listen to than there is right now. And that it gets more intense every year. But the thing that makes me sad when I think about that is the things that people forget about, just human evolution changes the way you focus on what the culture is representing in art. And I think music kind of is a great mirror to what is happening in the world. And man, there is so much to write about, or so much to react to. And I feel like that's one of the things that I really admire about people, younger people especially. They are so in tune with what's happening on the planet that I get inspired by listening to the things they're doing. It's like, man, I wish I'd done that. I mean, you couldn't possibly touch that. I'm just, the stuff I'm hearing on the radio, even in independent radio stations throughout the country and all over the world, there's amazing voices coming out. And like, these people have so much more to offer than I would have even have been doing myself. I'm so in awe of it sometimes. I really am. It's hard not to be.
There's so much out there that you have the choice of trying to keep up with the best new cool stuff, or do I get sentimental and do I listen to all the old cool stuff? Like it's just whatever you're in the mood for. I'm not usually one for looking back that much musically. I never listen to any of my recordings or anything ever. It's like, put it out. It's like the actor that won't look at themselves.
me.
Yeah.
Well, one of my questions is what are some local up and coming artists that you're excited about? Who would somebody you want to mention that people should check out?
You mentioned Spoils for sure. I know somebody that I always forget about, but Chauncey is like one of these bands that are like, I didn't see this coming. And
I've never seen them.
They're Chris Shaler's son is in the band. And it's just funny to see a generation of children who have become bands that you admire. It's quite a heady thing to think about, you know. That's really cool stuff. There's a couple other bands that we've played with recently that I really love.
I really liked this band we played with. Daisy hooked us up with at the Comet called Mop.
Oh yeah,
And
they're
the like
fabulous.
virtuoso guitar player, but then he just put the guitar down and pick up one of those cloth mops and start mopping the floor for a while and then go back.
Oh, it's totally up your alley. It's good stuff. Yeah. Yeah, I wish I could remember a couple of the other bands I was sort of thinking about on the way up here. Beef is another one that's sort of a newer project.
I really
John
liked the
Hoffman.
Mimes,
Yeah.
another John Hoffman, but I don't know if they still exist. I think
Yeah.
they might have already folded.
Yeah.
John Hoffman's name comes up a lot because he's
Yeah.
working with different artists and stuff. But you guys, Fairmount Girls, have worked with him, right?
We did a
yeah.
record with him.
Record with him, yeah.
He's a mover and shaker.
He's got a lot
Yeah,
going on.
running around. Who knows where he is?
I think Annie Driscoll, somebody I was really impressed with recently.
Yeah.
She kind of reminded me of, there was a period of time when our girls were sort of like going to school and we didn't get a chance to go out a whole lot. And then all of a sudden there was people producing stuff that I'm like, holy mackerel, I have no idea you were out there. And it's like, well, they've been doing this their whole life. You're just now seeing it, dude.
Yeah.
You've been sitting at
She's
home
a great
taking care of the
storyteller.
business, but
And
Yeah.
and I love the fellow that plays guitar with her.
yeah.
He's great too.
He's
And
a
I just I
fantastic
like the
guitar player.
whole thing. You know, if I could be a storyteller and sing and play and things I can't do,
Yeah.
I would want to be like that a little
Yeah,
bit.
there's a very quirky kind of fun and innocent kind of stage presence to that. But she really knows what she's doing. She has a really
Yeah.
good knack. I love it.
I'm a big fan of that. I still think they're all the new bands, but it's like they're all probably been around 10 years now,
Mhm.
like Tweens and
Yeah.
Vacation and Long
Yeah.
and Wussy
Yeah.
and
Wussy's probably
Static
15.
Falls,
Yeah,
Mhm.
Static Falls are great.
Disaster Class
Disaster
is
Class.
unfortunately playing their last show, which is really heartbreaking. It's actually Steve Weddington's in that band. They're playing this Friday night. And there's a lot of bands that it's hard to remember. That's like, well, who's new?
Roxy.
Yeah.
Anything Roxy
Hennessy.
does, if you know who that is. She usually has like 4 bands going.
Mhm. Yeah, it was the Dolls band. What was that one? That was fairly with Mackenzie from.
They changed their name
It
like
was
3
Breaking
times.
Glass, and then it
Yeah.
was the Demolition Dolls, right?
No.
No, that's from Detroit. That's
No, it was
Demolition
something
Dolls.
Dolls.
Yeah.
Dolly Daredevils.
Dolly
Daredevils. That's
Thank
right.
you.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's such a great project. Yeah,
All
there's
right.
just so much, you know.
I just got a couple more questions.
Yeah.
All right. So one of my questions is how did you hear Darlene was on the stairs here at the main library? Do you remember how you found that
I
out?
think I came and found it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think you did. Yeah.
When people started posting the steps, I was like, oh, I'm going to check it out. And I was like, oh, it is really sweet to see. It's
It
really
is.
cool
It's
to be
touching.
included.
Be part of such history is
Mhm.
really an honor.
And as another weird connection is, so the company I work for, MKSK, was the landscape architect for the restoration outside and did the design on the plazas. So I think you sent it to me, and I was like, look at that. Isn't that great?
Oh, I just remembered another band we used to play with a lot, the Slow Glows. And now they're, forgot what they're, or Left at Orion.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
We played a lot with them.
Yeah.
I think it's a huge honor, honestly. I don't take it lightly at all.
Joey Joseph, too.
The names on the banisters. I think it's a wonderful story of music in in Cincinnati. And there's probably tons of ones that didn't make it on there that should have been on there, but there's only so much room. So I'm just really excited that I'm on there and it's part of the history and somehow it worked out. This 19-year-old person who wanted to play in a band and had no idea how to get there to being on the library stairs.
Yeah.
Well, I like your criteria of it where it's an actual release. And I feel like that's what we're all about is the body of work.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that you forget about the difference between like releasing something on Spotify versus a physical media. There is a physical presence to your catalog that is kind of hard not to be excited about.
Because we've always talked about just doing a digital release and then rejecting that idea firmly.
And I think that would that be a criteria that would be acceptable for a release to be included in the library's?
Yeah, it was because Abia was on it, and I think it was a digital release.
She's done some physical stuff though.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, we have her. It's not on the stairs, but it's in the
Yeah.
collection. Her album she put out.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Future plans. What's in the future for Darlene?
Well,
More of the
if we
same,
look
I
out
guess.
a really long time, Dana and I are going to start a new jazz band when we're in the nursing home.
Casio keyboards.
Jazz.
Yeah, jazz,
I'll be long gone. I won't even survive.
But in the interim time, finish this record,
Yeah, we have a record
play more
in the
shows,
works.
write more songs,
We even have a title for the record.
have more fun hanging out
Should we
together.
reveal that?
What is it?
Wreck the Whole Room.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We came
I
up
like
with the
that.
title of the record before the record was finished. That was a first. Can never decide on anything else. But that's a big
Working
one for
title,
us.
right? It's not set in stone. Wreck the whole room.
But I think we're probably going to want to play a lot more. I think we don't get a chance to travel as much. And I think, when you get a little bit older, you'd like to see a little bit more of the venues that people that are playing elsewhere. And we'd like to do that ourselves at some point.
We do travel well together.
Yeah.
We like the same
Good food,
junking,
shopping.
Thrifting. Yeah, I can't tell you how many times we've canceled band practice to go to the antique show.
Whoops.
Only twice.
We do that.
We do.
Okay.
And the other weird thing about Darlene, guess when we practice? What day we practice and what time?
You already told. I know the answer.
Oh, rats.
You already told me. But
Sunday morning at 9:30 a.m.
what you did tell me is why. Why?
We used to play on Thursday nights, and by the time we got there after work, it would be like 8:30, 9 o'clock, and you can't get anything accomplished then, really. So it just we did a few let's woodshed on Sunday morning, and we just kept it up. It's odd.
It is odd. I'll say it's very odd. It's as close to church as I'll get.
Yeah. I always do a post you try to do a post every Sunday morning of the practice space.
It's always
church.
so grim. Jane's would be like carpet and an old suitcase.
I will say there's a bunch of people that practice at the same time down the street from us. We all see them get out in their cars,
Oh yeah.
come out at the same time we do,
Yeah.
loading their cars up. How you doing?
They have a cool name. I always thought they should do T-shirts. The good stuff.
Yeah, that's a good.
That's the name of
that's
their
a great
practice
venue.
space.
One time I posted on a Sunday morning, I had my pedals out here and I used my phone to measure the distance between my feet and the pedals. And I posted that, and then a whole bunch of tech geeks it should be actually this far. It should be this far. I do it here.
Oh my God.
Jane always gets the geek heads.
The least geek head person in the band is like, I don't care.
They know
about
not
that
to
stuff.
mess with me.
This takes precise measurements.
All
Sorry,
right.
Brian. What was your question?
You guys are veterans. You guys have been around. So what advice would you give some up and coming young musicians?
Say keep a notebook and write down anything, everything, like the most mundane stuff or just don't question yourself, and you can come back to it. And sometimes that's the brilliant stuff.
I will say that document yourself in your process, because even if it's minimal, I feel like one of the things that I always forget, like I used to be a sort of an archivist of every project I used to work on, and I have stopped doing that. But I really miss that, going back and saying, this is how this idea sort of became interesting to me, And, even if you're just keeping the stuff, you keep your tapes, man. Those tapes are great. Pass them on to somebody if you're not around. Who cares? No one will know what tape is anyway, but they'll say, I don't know what to do with this, but you can say you have it. That's fun. It's fun to look back on that stuff and kind of appreciate how far you've come, even if you don't listen to it.
And I would say, I think that for longevity, I think the most important ingredient is tolerance and emotional intelligence, because ultimately you have to be able to communicate, and you have to be able to respect and really care about the people that you're playing with. And they have to care about you. It's not about if you're the greatest this or that, that ever played. If you can't play with other people, it's not going to go anywhere. So you have to listen, and, you have to be able to write together and have that make sense. And I think that's the most important thing. And don't get wound up about dumb stuff that doesn't matter. Don't bring your drama to a practice, to a band, because you're only going to end up destroying the one thing that you're going for. Just work on the communication.
Safe place to kind of enjoy yourself, and I think the creative process is the part of that some of the stuff people will never see. I think 99% of the stuff that you do in the band, people are never going to care about. So that should be important to you when you do it. If you're not enjoying it, you probably don't really want to be in that band for too long. So find something you do feel that way about.
I would also say, I didn't make this up. I heard an actress say it, but I always try to do it if possible. And it's say yes to everything. Like, you never know, like the Jane Lynch, you know who that actress is? Yeah, she's the one I heard her say it. She said she always said yes, and then she dealt with it, and some of those opportunities, some of those weird things became her opportunities that did it for her.
Yeah, no kidding.
I mean, the library isn't intimidating. I will say that room, I'm a little afraid of it. It's so stark and wide open and strangers. I don't know. It's out of our element in a way. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking forward to it though.
Yeah, don't be afraid of those weird, uncomfortable places, because that'll really teach you something.
We've come a long way, because at one time we wouldn't play in the daylight. So
that's so true.
We've worked on our fears.
I think that's more your creed.
It is.
I like playing festivals and that kind of stuff, but
yeah, I've worked on my anxiety quite a bit.
I tend to say no. There are exceptions, but if they're serving food, it's generally not a good idea.
Weddings, not a good idea.
Stay away from food venues.
So, it's not always, because Motor's such a great rock club,
True.
But it's not like a restaurant.
Right.
That's a bad idea. I always think of your weird playing the balcony in Miami University, and they were watching the World Series.
So they kept clapping in the middle of a song. Nobody was watching us. Everybody was watching the screen.
We thought we sounded great.
We're playing. They came over and said, "That's enough." Melissa was like, "We're playing 2 more songs." That was sports.
Sport.
We're writing this down so we know on Sunday what.
Right. So, bring cupcakes.
Well, thank you so much for doing this interview. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting us.
So much. Appreciate it.